welcome back to the Threshold Lab. And today I'm super excited for my conversation with Nate Shaw. And this is a special one for a number of reasons. One, I'm interviewing a teammate, I'm interviewing a friend, and I'm interviewing somebody who I've learned a ton from over the last 7 years in professional baseball. A lot of what we'll get into is the things that I've learned that have been really helpful. And we'll probably talk about some mishaps along the way, probably more my doing than Nate's doing. But more than anything, Nate, I'm just super grateful for you taking some time to share. And you're the first strength coach by trade that we've had on the show. However, as I think we'll get into in this conversation, the thing that I think is really special about you and how you do your job is that you help players beyond just their physical game and all the stuff that you do in terms of coaching a mentality, helping guys transform and really just become better versions of themselves in all the aspects. So anyway, with all that said, Nate, I'm super excited to have you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And, we can't go any further without, giving you some accolades. And one of the things that you've done the entire time I've known you, even through the interview process, was you've been a hard worker. You've been always prepared. You're super professional. And I think you're always available. It's like, you go around corner and, oh, there's Zach. What? How is he there? Like, I was just thinking about him. And, you've done an amazing job of building a program from the bottom up. And a credit to you for being a great teammate. And we've obviously done a lot of cool stuff together along the way. And I feel like we've helped a lot of people. And I think that's probably what excites the both of us the most. And so thank you for the opportunity to get to hang out with you on your podcast.
Of course. I think as a starting point, I think it would make a lot of sense. There's not a lot of people that have had the longevity in this game that you've had, right? We just talked before we started it. We hit record. This is the 23rd season for you in professional baseball. And they say longevity is not an accident. Success is not an accident. So you having the career that you've had as a professional in this game is intentional. It's by who you've been and how you've continued to develop and so on. So I kind of want to start when you reflect back. I kind of want to zoom out on these 23 years or so. And if you were to maybe strip away not just like the technical knowledge that it takes for you to excel in your role, but some of the personal skills and the qualities that you think go into being a great strength coach at the professional level, how would you describe what goes into that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's the answers have changed a lot over the years. And I think you have to. There's a couple of things that are really important, and I think I would say communication and trust and being a good teammate. Those are at the top of the list. Like those are the ones that I use the most. And that's not to say that product knowledge, and it's a general kind of junk term, but man, I have to know about force plates. I have to know about widgets and woozle wazzles and all these things that are like really important. I have to understand Instagram and all the gurus that are out there. I have to understand their opinion, and so I can relate to my players what I think is best and what I think is best for in-season management of their strength and conditioning career and their playing career. So you have to know that there's a baseline like of excellence that we're fortunate enough on the sports medicine team and all the people that we're surrounded by that we have. And I think that's like, we can't not talk about that. Like, you got to be good and you got to know your stuff. And I think that's the baseline. Now, I think when we start talking about longevity and skills, I think it's about being a great teammate. I think it's about serving others. I think it's about helping people and understanding, like, man, hey, what does this dude need today? What can I do to help Zach today? What can I do to help Rick or, whatever? Like, what can I do to affect this situation in a positive manner? And I think, over the years, sometimes it's a mentor. I kid around a lot. And the younger strength coaches, I'm like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they'll be like, what? Like, I want to be a big league strength coach. I was like, cool. You want my help? And they're like, yeah, sure. And so then right there, like, okay, I know what you want to be, and I've been enrolled by you to help you. So now I can actually offer you maybe assistance, maybe advice, maybe mentorship, maybe, hey, I can hold you accountable better. I can do all those things in service to my teammates. And I think over the years, we have a baseline of excellence, and the product that we deliver is, I'm biased for sure, but second to none. And it's like, that's the standard. And we also invest heavily in our infrastructure with our employees, our colleagues, our strength coaches, our mental skills people, our trainers, our physical therapists, our dietitians. Like, man, the strength of the team is so much more important than anything that I've done. You know, it's funny, you were, talking about 23 years, and it's like, man, my palms get a little sweaty, and it's like, ugh, ugh. Like, it's, I've gotten to be here because of my teammates and how well we've worked together. And I think that's a huge, I mean, I have mentors. I mean, Ken Crenshaw, Ryan DePamphilo. We have a bunch of people here that have been here for a long time. And, we have something that we think is really special, and it's around those skills. And you got to know, like, you got to put your Con Ed time in. Like, you got to be a savage. You got to be hitting. I mean, as an athletic trainer, I have to have 35 hours a year, and I never run out of budget, and I always don't log all my hours that I do. So we do a lot, and it's a big time investment, and we all want to be elite, and I think that's why we were drawn together 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. With that, I think one of the things that you hit on, and you mentioned mentorship from like Ken and Dip, who model this very much so, but you mentioned early on just like approaching interactions, conversations, not just with players, but with staff or whoever that you come into contact with, of how can I serve you? Like, how can I serve you today? And I'm curious, when you reflect back on kind of the journey thus far, like, when did you learn that along the way? Or when did that shift for you start to become, I guess, a framework for you, how you approach every day and impacting people?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I think man, the first thing that comes to mind, it must be the mood lighting that you got here, but me and Ken Crenshaw were lifting in the bottom of the trop. We were just doing some, he was kind enough to let me come over to the trop, which was, I had the minor league spring training was on the other side of St. Petersburg, and then at the trop was where they played baseball with the Rays, and I was over there. We were lifting weights one night after game, and he's like, hey man, like, you seem like you got something really good, man, but it's like you don't want to share. He's like, what's up with that? And I was like, bro, I don't know you. I don't know if I can trust you. I don't, like, what, He's like, well, if you can't trust your teammate, then who can you trust? You're never going to be a good teammate if you don't trust anybody, and you're never going to go as far as you can. So, I mean, that was probably 2004, maybe. And I mean, it hit me square in the face, and like, all right, cool. Because I had some really cool soft tissue skills, and Ken was always looking to learn, and I was looking to learn, and we were kind of like, I don't know, kind of like sniffing around, like just trying to see if we could trust each other. And he said that, and it was like, man, dominoes. And so since then, I've been an ever increasing version of a good teammate. I started then, I was like, oh, I can trust this guy. And then as I got older and, got more reps and realized that the power is in serving the team, and the way they say, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, you bring your people. And it's like, man, there's nothing more true than that, in retrospect. So I'd say 2004, and we've tried to model that same, leave your ego at the door and help out your teammates, and then serve the athletes, and tried to do that for 20 years now. 20 years in the major league, so it's been pretty successful. It's been pretty cool.
I think it's safe to say it's been fairly successful. So we talk a lot about day to day. We get to serve like elite performers, the best of the best. Now, in order to serve them to the best possible way that we can, we have to be at our best. We have to be elite. So when you think about coaching, and this could be from a strength coach standpoint, this could be from anybody that is a coach, what do you feel like starts to separate the good from the great coaches?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we've all experienced both sides of it, right? And I think that's the cool part is, I mean, being aware, being really well aware of like the best coaches say the right thing at the right time. The best coaches are in the right spot at the right time to lift somebody up, to say something that's going to shift their mindset. And I think if you can, the best coaches in my mind shift mindsets at the right time. And they can say the least amount of words, the best of the best say the least amount of words at the right time, the perfect time, and it happens like a turnkey. So like, boom, whoop, problem's gone. And I think that's what separates it. I think everybody along the way, you have to have work ethic, you have to have passion for what you do, you have to have family that supports you, and you have to be willing to put in the time, and also look for those opportunities and look and get out there on the court. Because man, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are listening to this that are like, man, that guy said a lot of dumb shit. And That's totally fine. Like I couldn't have gotten to where I'm at now. And not that I'm even great. I think I do a good job with a lot of things, but there are so many people that are so much better than me at so many things that I can continue to refine. And I've been able to do that because I've been out there trying. And I've been doing my best version, the passion of trying to help people, the passion of serving people. I've been able to do that, and it's kind of sanded down a little bit. I mean, I'm not smooth, and I'm not like I'm a rough grit sandpaper, and at the right time, that's the absolute right tool. And I've also developed a tool belt where I can use the little hammer, the little screwdriver, or if I've got to pull out the 2x4, I can hit somebody with 2x4. And that's I think that's what great coaches have.
So with that, one of the things that I'd love to kind of peel back the layers on a little bit more, you mentioned like getting on the court, and that's something I think that we talk a lot about internally. We kind of know where that comes from, which you can kind of expand on here in a second. But I would be curious for you, those that you've seen who are willing to over and over again get on the court
Mm.
and learn and grow. What is it that they do, or what is it their mindset that enables them to get on the court more often and actually make an impact versus stay stuck in the stands?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that's an individual conundrum, Rubik's cube, and I like to simplify things, and I'm not the most eloquent or whatever, but I want to be good. I don't want to look good. I don't care. I just want to be part of something bigger and more special than I mean. I could work at Target. It's cool. I could sell shirts and underwear in aisle 6, but I want to be part of something that I see as bigger. And to be able to do that, I think you have to be able to um, want to get over those fears. It's like commitment. Like, what are you committed to? There's a story about, man, are you committed to losing weight in January, or are you committed to getting across the city when there's a building on fire? I can't even say it, and your kid's in there. Like, that's commitment, right? Like, I'm not gonna not get there ever. You know what I mean? And like, if you want to be good and be part of something that bad, then you don't care if you make a mistake or two because it's going to come from the right place. I don't, man, I've looked bad plenty. And I've also have I know in my heart because people have told me that I've made an impact on their life, and that fires me up. That makes it all worth it. And I don't want to say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I want to be like Ken or like John Wooden or like Tori and say the right thing at the right time. And sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Nobody's ever reached their potential by thinking about what they should do. They had to do it. They had to act, right? And I think that's like the common theme in like a lot of what you're describing is getting on the court is a willingness to act and know that like it doesn't mean that it means you're going to hit a home run every single time or you're going to say the right thing or it's going to be perfect. But what you will do is if you get on the court and then you're willing to learn and grow and take feedback and do those
Mm,
types of things, like it will accelerate your development. So that way, the more shots that you take,
mm,
the more you're able to actually transform lives. And I know at least on my from my own perspective is that I can reflect back on the last 7 years just as an example and think too there were numerous instances where I made a mistake or I said the wrong thing or in retrospect it's like I should have used the 2x4 and I tried to use the screwdriver in those types of situations. But so I think we learn a lot too from our mistakes. You mentioned that story with Ken back in 2004 as maybe one of those big learning lessons for you. But has there also been any other moments that you can recall where, when you reflect back on your career, it was because of a mistake or it was because of a failure that you felt like you really grew as a coach?
yeah, I mean, there's times when I've pushed too hard, and I think in general, if I was going to categorize most of the problems that I've run into is because I pushed too hard. Either I didn't listen well, uh, I didn't I didn't give take the rest opportunity when I had it. I didn't. I didn't have the patience to sit back and let something play out. So for me, it's like pushing too hard. Maybe with a player, I'm trying to build a relationship, and one of the things I'm really big into is like victim and ownership, like accountability. Like that's an absolute fundamental thing. And if you don't have enough, like there's a saying, I'm sure you've heard it, like no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And like you can't overspend your relationship capital with something until you've built that foundation. You have to build, and you have to know that you're going to be able to use the relationship's going to be able to withstand the amount of truth you're about to tell, or the amount of roughness that you're going to have, or you have to have a decent feel for that. And I think I probably missed on that. When I was younger, we would run harder, and we would do all these things over, and it's like, man, there's a line, and there's a line that's too much, and then there's a line that's enough, and then there's also a gap in between. And I like to try to live in that gap. I don't want to go over, and I certainly don't want to go under. No one wants to. That's not going to help anybody to be elite, right? But man, if you cross that line, if you can get right up to that and keep butting that line, you can keep pushing that line up. I think that's the thing that I've learned the most, is like a feel, a sixth sense, just around conversation. Like body language, you can see when people are in it, when they're out of it, if their eyes are looking at you or not. And of course, having a son helps with that. Having relationships in the real world, not in baseball. Those are real. It's hard, and our job is hard. So there's a lot of difficult conversations, and if you can find that sweet spot, I think that's the zenith of it all.
Yeah. I think within that, you mentioned earlier that quote about, like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together, right? And success is certainly not a solo journey. And I think one of the things that I'm very grateful for from you is, from kind of day one, even going back to the interview process, which I still remember really vividly, how you've been a sounding board. You have been somebody that I can, hey, was this the right thing to do? Or what should I do here? And or in some instances, like, hey, can I offer you some feedback? And I think we've talked a lot about how we've learned a lot from our teammates when it comes to helping us grow. So I'd be love for you to maybe talk a little bit about how you've maybe leveraged your teammates and the feedback from them to kind of help accelerate your growth process.
There is nothing more precious on this planet than feedback from trusted teammates. Like, man, if you want to change your life and change your trajectory, I mean, you guys probably can tell I'm a little bit passionate, maybe a little bit vocal, have a little bit of a physical presence, clown around a touch. But I was way less refined back in the day. And one of the things, I think maybe just as you get older, you learn to listen a little bit more, and you learn to not so much lead by example. Like that's the leading by example was a trap for me, because I would just go and do what I thought was good and be like, come on, we're going. And I mean, I'm running through walls, I'm blowing up, I'm going, bull in a China, like, come on, let's go. And it was awesome, but it wasn't for everybody. And so we have this thing that we started back in the day, and it's just a review, and you get essentially you get strengths, weaknesses, or strengths, areas to get better at, and comments. So like, and then everybody fills one out on you. So my name's Nate Shaw, and I have 34 teammates. And so I get a document at the end of all this, and we put it in, and we have this data guy that's awesome. We used to have to cut and paste it. It was terrible. But now we just type it into this form, boom, and I get a document that has my name on it and has everybody's comments about me, strengths, weaknesses, and comments. And man, when we first started, it was like, oh, this guy can't listen for anything. Like, this dude, he's passionate, he's enthusiastic, man, he knows a lot, he's great at soft tissue, he's a leader in the industry, like all these wonderful positive things. And then, like, man, every other one was like, this dude can't listen for shit. Like, this dude's going way too fast. Like, he's a bull in a china shop. He would do better if he was more accepting of others. And it's like, all these lead by example things are good on one side of the coin, but when you flip the other part of the coin over, there's no space for anybody else. Like, who wants to be on a team with that dude? And man, when I started getting that feedback, like the first year, I think, I don't know, we had 25 people or something like that. And I got like 14. This guy can't listen. He sucks. And I was like, oh, like, I don't want that, and it stung. Like, it's getting kicked in the shin, or you foul a ball off your shin. It's like, makes you vomit. You feel like, literally, you feel sick. But then the next year it goes from 14 craps to 10. and then to 7 the next year, and then you slowly learn and like, man, if I can make these adjustments, I can be a better teammate. And I don't want to be right. I want to get it right. I want to be part of something bigger. And man, that thing is that single-handedly changed my life. I mean, that's led to all the Con Ed that I've done. That's led to, I mean, that was the best invention that when we stumbled upon it too. We were just like, well, let's just figure this out. Let's rank some people and see where everybody's at, see where everybody stacks up. And like, man, now it's this anonymous thing that's a literal gift every year. And, now in year 20, we've probably done it 18 times or something like that. Like, and I get a lot of really positive feedback because I got kicked in the leg 42 times in the early 2000s.
I think one of the things that I've greatly appreciated too is not only you leveraging feedback here internally, but I know like you do a lot of other forms of service. Like you go and you speak to like schools and like classrooms and students and one of the things that was cool is you shared a story with me this spring where like you had gone and delivered and you had um, asked for feedback.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it was amazing because it wasn't just pertaining to the craft. It's like no. Like I just want to be elite and I want to be great at whatever it is I do, whether it's public speaking, coaching, being a dad, whatever. And so I just wanted to. I don't know. I have a question on that. It was more so just I thought really awesome how you still sought that out in coming from a place of service too, which I thought was very cool. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It's almost it's not a crutch. It's like part of it. It's like, hey man, I want to know, did I reach what was my mindset going in and did I reach that audience? And I had some tough questions now. There was a class full of physical therapists. It was awesome. And, there were a couple of kids in there that I just didn't resonate with. And it was awesome. I got the feedback. And then I actually put that feedback into, because oddly enough, I had another group at a different school. I went to a bunch of physical therapists, athletic trainers, and I made some adjustments. And like, man, the feedback was unbelievable, but only because I still had the little band-aid on my shin from getting kicked by the other one. So so I came out smelling like roses, but I had some bruises.
If you were in shorts, we'd see a lot of bruises here. um, so going back to one of the things that you were talking about when it separates like good versus great is timing, and that can be really, I think, delicate as a strength coach because inevitably when players come in after games, good, bad, ugly, and in between, they're generally when they come into the weight room, like you're the person, you're the point of contact, and in that moment, that can be there's so many different routes you can go, what to say, how to keep it light, have a serious conversation, all of that. So for you, when you've navigated those conversations, I know this is kind of a bigger generalization, but when players have had struggles and they've come in, how do you approach kind of those immediate moments after a tough performance for a player?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Buzz Williams at Texas Tech, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
He said something that was just really cool to me, and it made sense. And it's what I did, but I didn't realize I did it. He's like, man, I don't really have any tough conversations. Like they're not tough because I'm having them when they're this big. So if I see a guy that say he's a relief pitcher and he comes out of the game and he didn't do well, maybe the umpire gave him a bad call, or he didn't execute a pitch, or whatever the case may be. Like the first time when they're hot, like you just kind of you let them talk, because that's part of it. It's emotion, it's raw. Like these dudes are coming out, like they're fighting for in their mind, they're fighting for their family, and they get beat, or they get the wrong end of a call, and they feel like they've been victimized, and it's like it's raw, and that's fine. We got to get that out. And then it's like, okay, I use a combination of like Byron Katie's work, like, man, is that really true? Like, is that really true? And then the other thing that I learned way back in the day was just like, okay, all right, cool, you got a problem, go talk to him. Go talk to him. You didn't want to come out there. You didn't think you should have come out there. I know you know everything, but if you have an issue, then let's get the pitching coach together. Let's get the manager together. Let's all just huddle up, man. Let's all just get on the same page, just so that there's no, like, because if you don't say anything about it, then you're just complaining. And that approach works pretty good. In general, if it's not too hot and it's not explosive that night, I just look for patterns. You know what I mean? Look for opportunities to have those little conversations. And it's probably something like, hey man, I know you were upset last night and you said some stuff, and I need you to take responsibility for something, man. Like you didn't execute that pitch right there, or did you execute that pitch? Like, what? How do you feel today? Ask them questions and get them to realize that, man, they're the ones. If you take responsibility, then that's great, because that means you can actually do something about it. You know what I mean? You're not some victim. And if you had a bad call, okay, great. We see it every night, right? But did you execute the other pitches? And did you actually execute the one that was the bad call? Like, what can you control, and what did you control out of that? And I feel like that just takes the air out of the room. And then, just having good conversations and building people up, and doing the pick and roll with you, or if somebody's, like we the times that we've worked together as a team to help somebody, and like, hey man, like this dude, I was talking to him about this, and oh, that's great. Hey, I had the same conversation. Oh, really? Okay, good. Oh, he said this. Oh, good. He's getting it. Like, yeah. Because we want to help. Yeah. And we also have to toe the line and not enable or tolerate myths, truths, things that aren't true, things that aren't going to help us win. You know what I mean? Mindsets that are, I don't know, suboptimal. Like, no, because that's what we're committed to.
Eliminate the victim. And then I think the other thing too is like, so in mental skills, people like to talk about like the classic, like well, better, how, like, hey, after performance, like, what'd you do well? What could you have done better? How are you going to do it better next time? Like, I think what you do a really nice job of in those moments is getting them to the how. Also, it's not just let's recap what went well and what could have like gone better, but you get them into action. Like, okay, what are you gonna do different tomorrow? Like, how are you gonna like attack your next bullpen? Like, what? Like, you turn the page. You help play a really pivotal role in them turning their page already and getting into action and not getting stuck in victim. Too, part of that is obviously, if you don't ever take a moment to transfer into taking ownership, then you're gonna stay stuck on the previous performance versus actually being able to move forward. And then the other piece that you brought up is like the Byron Katie piece. And like one of the things that I think she and many others that have kind of similar frameworks and methodologies and whatever term you want to use is like they do a really nice job of teasing apart, like, okay, is this true? Like, is this a story that you've created, or is this the facts, if you will? So for you, I know that's something that you help a lot of players with as well. Like for you, when you think about that distinction, the stories versus facts, like, what do you listen for and hear for when you're talking to players in that space, but also then how do you help them distinguish the two?
Yeah, I think it's just being honest, and I think it's goes back to a couple of key things. The players have to know that you care about them, and sometimes it's hard because we're just cruising. Sometimes it's a new player. We've had a lot of roster movement this year, so sometimes it's hard to build a relationship and get really close with somebody. But they got to know that you care about them, and they got to be willing to listen to you. So you have to have done the work on the front end to kind of lay the groundwork, and then I think you can just you can essentially ask if that's really true. Like, do you really think that's true? Or you can ask like a question that's not as direct, or a situation that's not as direct. Like, oh man, have you seen that before? Has you done that before? Has this happened to you before? Like, what, and then if you've had a relationship ongoing with them and you've had these conversations before, then it can be quicker, and I think once you put in the time with them on the front end, then you can actually just ask them, man, is it, come on, is that really true? Like, man, I know you're hot. Like, it's cool. I understand. And that stinks. But like that's not who you are. The dude that I know you are is going to do this and reframe it. And I think everybody, man, everybody's good at identifying problems. Like, oh, fit, problem. Like, that's a red flag. Okay, great. But what are we going to do about it though? Like, what are we going to do? We need people that, like, the best coaches can identify the problem. The best coaches can see it ahead of time, have a little conversation, and put out the fire right away. But when there's an inflamed fire going on, you got to kind of work with that, and you got to come up with some solutions. And I think that's the part, trying to get them to have ownership in the solution, have them to have ownership and cause and responsibility and accountability in what they're going to do moving forward. Okay, what are we going to do? Do we need to do more cardio because you get tired and you hung a 2-0 fastball and, man, now we're down by 6? Like, is that good? Or is it, you just need to execute more? Maybe you need to relax, me to down regulate a little bit. Like everybody's individual and everybody's different. And sometimes it's ramp them up, sometimes it's ramp them down. Sometimes it's a crazy thing at the house. There's so many things. These people are humans and they're really good at baseball. And like, man, they're just like everybody else though. They got in a fight with their mom. Their mom yelled at them, or they didn't put the dishes away, or like whatever, right? The kid was crazy. Like it's real stuff. I mean, you're a dad, like, man, we do this for a living and it's amazing. And we still have to be dads at the house. We still have to be husbands. We still have to take care of the family. And it's like, man, they're just like us.
With this, like, so one of the things that we talk a lot about is like when you want to be elite, you can't get there without self-awareness.
Mm.
And like, again, that's where like things like the feedback play into that. But I know that through a lot of the studying and developing that you've done, you've learned a lot about how to get more accurate in terms of your self-awareness and understand like where that comes from. Like, what are the things it starts to shape things like, your point of view on life. And I know that's something that you talk a lot about, and it shows up in so many, I think, wonderfully like clear ways in how you help guide players to taking responsibility and transforming. So could you talk to the audience a little bit about like that idea of point of view and what that means to you and how you kind of work people through that process?
Yeah, that's for me. It's they say the teacher shows up when the student is ready, and I've had about 60,000 teachers. It seems like you've been a part of my journey. Helping me understand things about myself. There's all kinds of programs out there. There's a Landmark. There's another one called Hoffman. There's a one called the Game Changer with Devin Banison. There was a guy that used to work with us back in the day named Peter Crone, and I am just like the fortunate dude that was dumb enough to not get it and keep asking questions to all of these people. And I think what it all boils down to is it's like pattern recognition. And I think if you can you can realize and see patterns in things, then you can maybe track it back to something maybe from your childhood. And in the Landmark forum, there's you can get self-awareness from Jesus, Buddha, a mental skills person. I've never gotten it from the bottle of tequila, but they said that you can get that. I don't know, but I've been fortunate enough to hang out with like people like you that are really good at what they do. And for me, it's this. They had this little game, and it's just a game. This is one iteration of something that made sense to me at the time that has helped me with a lot of people. And it's the Landmark point of view distinction. And there's it's a simple game. I don't know if you guys ever played palindromes when you were a kid. Like it was like I whatever see spot blank, and then the red truck blank, and like you could write in any words you want, and you can make your own, choose your own adventure story. And it's kind of like that. It's I am not blank and the world is blank. And so like that doesn't make any sense without any context. But if you're looking for patterns in your life, and you can go back in time and you just look at it and you go, okay, usually it's a conflict. It's typically how you deal with conflict, how you get upset, right? Because that's usually when people are bothered. And you go back, it's usually with somebody from your childhood. There's something in there that went awry and you started responding a certain way. And in general, you go back to a time, you pick a conflict or a recurring conflict, there's a feeling that you've had, and that feeling, whatever it is, you take it back to the first time you remember it. And it's called your point of view. And I am not what? Like mine is that, I had a great childhood. With the exception of maybe 15 or 16 days. We had alcohol abuse and we had domestic violence, and it was I was fortunate because I was never a part of it. But in those moments, in those times when people would be drinking and fights would break out, like I am not safe. And I just always go back to that. It's like, man, I had this feeling of like, okay, when something's about to go on, I'm like, man, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. And I start looking for something. I am not safe. And it comes up all the time. And the world, like, so my feelings in that was the I am not part. The aggressors in the environment is the world. So like in those moments when my stepdad would get a little crazy and he would they would get in a fight, my mom wouldn't say the right things at the right time, and it was a little bit volatile, and then it was combustible and it would explode. In those moments, man, I didn't know what was going to go on. And so in general, I was like, oh man. So my point of view is I am not safe and the world is uncertain. And like, man, once I figured that out, that made a lot of sense to me because like now I don't feel safe. So I'm kind of always like, scanning like it's so crazy for me how this has played out in my life. I am not safe. Okay, great. What does that mean? Well, it means I'm super vigilant. I'm going to work hard to make sure that I don't get hurt. I'm going to work hard to make sure that I don't get fired, right? I'm going to work hard to make sure that things in my life are certain. Like I'm going to work hard to make certainty, right? And that's really cool, right? The other part that's not so cool is I am not safe, right? So, I mean, we're at a Major League Baseball game. There's 4 security checkpoints to get to me. Like, what do you mean? I'm really like Byron Katie. Is that really true that you're not safe? And it's like, no, I'm fine. And I don't really love uncertainty. It's like, have you ever driven a jet ski with no, you're just floating and you can't steer until you do something, until you take action, and then you can go. And so that's how I responded to my fear of uncertainty. My thinking the world was uncertain is I get after it. I go. That was the bull in the china shop. That was also like my whole life started. The fear of uncertainty was, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. Let's pick an intervention. Let's try. Let's evaluate the situation. Let's pick an intervention. Let's be funny guy tonight. Maybe I can break this up ahead of time because I can see the sparks kind of flying a little bit. I can see the tension starting to rise. Let's see if I can be the funny guy tonight. Maybe I'll just go, okay, the funny guy worked. Everybody's cool. No fight. Awesome. Next time it's the, hey, I need help with my homework guy, or hey, I'm doing something downstairs. Can you help me out? Like I had to come up with these different things because sometimes they would work and sometimes they wouldn't. And sometimes they would get in the fight and sometimes they wouldn't. And like fast forward to my life, like I'm fortunate enough, like the facts on our jobs are unbelievable. I'm one of 30 in the world, right? Like it's comical. I grew up in a trailer park in Florida. You know what I mean? I'm one of 30 in the world and it's awesome. And what I literally do is I evaluate and then I choose an intervention. And then I look at the outcome. Like I learned to do this job when I was 4. You know what I mean? Like pick out what's going to work, what's not going to work. And then I can pick the best intervention for the world to not be uncertain. If I pick the right intervention, if I pick the right exercise for a player, I can strengthen their rotator cuff and then they won't have they won't have an elbow problem. If we do the right things, then we won't get hurt as much, right? If we do the right things, we're going to get super strong and super powerful. So let's merge all that together. And what I learned in all that is like, man, for me not feeling safe, no wonder I went into weightlifting. No wonder I love jujitsu. You know what I mean? Like, no wonder I'm fit. Like, it's just in case something happens. I love it. But the underlying thing is like, man, I am not safe and the world is uncertain. And so this spring, we unpacked that for, I don't know, probably we got 35 sports medicine people, we had it on the board and we went through everybody's just to see what everybody came up with. And there were so many I am not enoughs. I am not prepared and the world is scary. And it's like, man, you just go down these lists and like, it's not, for some people, it's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But mine, at that point in my life, when I was ready to hear about it, man, it clicked. And now I see it. And it's like, oh, I don't like uncertainty. Do you think I'm more silent or do you think I talk more? Which one would be uncertainty? That would be silence. Hence, I talk a lot. Hence, I got a big voice. I have this big presence. And that's great, except for when it's not. And when it's not, if I can be aware of it, then I can choose to not do that. Like I have the other gears now. I have the other tools. It doesn't always have to be the 2x4. Me understanding why I am the way I am has literally changed and made me way more effective. It's changed my, like, if I was going to throw a leadership net out, I would catch 20 fish before. But now my leadership net is huge because I don't push anybody away. I don't repel everybody, and I can change gears quicker. I have more tools, so I can catch 80 fish instead of what I used to do. And you can recognize the patterns faster, and then you can connect with people faster. And I think that's ultimately what great coaches do, is connect with people and make a positive impact from serving them. And I think that's how it plays out for me.
One of the things that I think is so powerful about the point of view distinction is how it helps you maybe recreate your relationship to your past, right? Like the things that have happened, the tension, all the different circumstances that you've maybe navigated. But then the next step that I think you're starting to kind of get into is, okay, once you have awareness of that past, like what's the future now that you want to create? What's the thing that you want to live into? So you broke down wonderfully the what behind what point of view represents, where it comes from, all that. What's that next step for you when you see a player or you see somebody that you're serving that maybe has a limiting point of view that they've created over time? Like, what's that next step for you to now help them create maybe that new future and a new point of view?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question. I think the way that I look at that is trying to create a relationship and build enough trust so that I could say, hey, is that really true? Hey man, is that is that is that your point of view right there? Or is that real? And when we can stop and just like in the moment realize, like, if you're in a relationship or you have a fear of maybe your last two girlfriends have left you and you're fearful that your next girlfriend is going to leave you, but you got a really good one, right? In that moment, if you're thinking the same thing, then it's going to happen, right? But if you can stop and like, hey, station break, let's be aware, hold on, just let's just stop for a second and break that chain of thought, then now if you can build awareness, then it's a choice. You can actively choose. It doesn't mean it's not scary. It doesn't mean you don't automatically think the way you've been thinking for 50 years, but it's a choice now. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, is this the same situation that I've been in? No, it's not. Am I not safe? No, I'm totally safe. Is the world uncertain? Like, yeah, I can't control everything, but man, like, is there a reason to be fearful of it? Like the antidote for fear is love, right? And if you can just love where you're at, love yourself, and I know it sounds crazy, I'm a strength coach, but if you can just do those things well, then you can trust. Like, love breeds trust, and you can trust that everything's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Look where we're at. Look what we're doing. This is amazing. And when you can do that, then you can break out. And you got to practice. There's a couple of really cool things that I like. There's this, a lot of people do a really good job of it. An I am document. And so instead of I am not safe, right? What am I? Well, okay, I am safe. I'm strong. I'm vulnerable. I'm communicative. I am health. You can go down and and then you have this. The word brainwashing is a bad word, right? But if you think about it literally, like, you take your brain out and you wash it and then you stick it back in there, like, man, that's what you want to do. Like, when's the last time that you upgraded an app on your phone?
Think maybe
when you're on the toilet,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
like today,
recently,
yesterday,
the last
right?
24 hours.
No doubt,
probably,
right?
yeah.
When's the last time you got a new phone, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time you changed the way you think? And that's what we're trying to do. I think like that's what transformation is. That's what these conversations are about. Let's change the way people are thinking so that they can think better, because there's new ways to do stuff now, man. You don't have to think like the 6-year-old that was worried about his mom getting beat up. You know what I mean? I don't have to think like that. I don't. I can think like a professional Major League Baseball strength and conditioning coach that is in charge of a $200 million payroll. You know what I mean? Like let's think like that. It doesn't have to be that. And once you become aware of that and you can think outside of it a little bit, you're like, damn, well, that sounds better. And it doesn't mean that it's easy, because you're still going to slip back into your patterns. But you just have to be around people and have relationships with people that you can trust, and that you can feel that you can trust, and they can help you. And I think that's why I've been around for 23 years. That's why I'm lucky enough to be as good at the things that I'm good at as I am, is because of teammates like you, because of teammates like Ken and Ryan and Ben and Scott. Like, man, I'm lucky. And then, the coolest thing about it all is we've had a budget since I got here in 2006 to go do all this stuff. So the ownership, the Diamondbacks ownership is like, man, we're gonna try and make these guys good at what they do. And it takes money. And they've been on that since day one. And so it's like, I'm just the luckiest dude going, because I get to be here and experience all this.
There was a earlier episode in this podcast where I talked about, do you remember the Etch-a-Sketch? Do you remember that?
I remember vaguely.
Okay, like it's the little like down where it's like the.
Oh, I remember the toy.
Yeah, the toy. Yeah, the toy Etch-a-Sketch, right? Uh-huh. Like you can create whatever beautiful match. Mine was never beautiful. I had zero artistic skill. Talk about I am not artistic, to say the least. But the beautiful part about it is you could create something, and then the moment you wanted a clean slate, all you had to do was shake it. and now it's clean. And that's kind of what comes to mind is if we just took all the stories, the point of view that we've had, all the thoughts that we've accumulated over the course of our journey, it's like taking an etch a sketch or a whiteboard and just filling it. And the beautiful thing is that at any given moment, you can choose to erase them. You can choose to shake it and create something new. And I think the other distinction that you kind of, in essence, raise that I really like to talk about is like the difference between control and choice. Reality is like there's not a lot out there that we can control. There's a lot out there we can influence, but there's not a lot truly that we can control except how hard we work, our inner like our focus, our attitude, those types of things. But we do have a choice that we always have control over in any given moment. So in any given moment, we can choose to create a new thought. We can choose to create a new point of view and upgrade that. I heard somebody once say that as human beings, like we can't outperform our self-image, but we're also the only species that can change our self-image. And I thought that was really powerful. And that's exactly, I think, what you're kind of getting at when you take that next step and you create kind of a new possibility for guys. I'll do a quick pause. I don't want to take too much more time. How are you doing?
I'm great.
Okay. Brandon, are we keeping you?
No, you're good.
Okay,
We're
okay.
covering editing.
Okay. I just have like 3 final questions.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
I might have to stop you just in case the battery runs low.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll let y'all know.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Perfect. Okay. So I want to reach kind of what we'll call it the fourth inning, or I mean fourth inning. I was gonna say fourth quarter, but then I was like midway through. I was like, I've probably used baseball. We're going into the leverage innings here. We're gonna try to close the game down. So I think I'd be remiss if we didn't spend a little bit of time talking about teams. You've already talked a little bit about being a great teammate, what that goes into it, or what goes into that. And one of the things that's been very special about being part of the sports medicine performance team is yourself, Dip, Ken, and others, Peter Crone, that have taken time to outline what's the mission, what's the vision of this team, and outline some of those values. So I would love for you to maybe share with those that maybe are unfamiliar how important that has been as kind of a North Star for our team, and what some of those maybe core ones are. You don't have to go through all the values, but the ones that you feel like resonate the most in high performing teams.
Yeah, I mean that's an awesome. It's like it sets the compass. It's a GPS point. It's literally where we're going. It's what we're going to commit to. It's what we're going to do. And I think it's along the lines of like, okay, if we're going to commit to that, then nothing else really matters. And one of the things is to be the best sports medicine and performance team on the planet. And I mean, I just think that's kind of cool, And like it's set to be a never like a mountain that doesn't have a top. It's just hey, we're just going to go. And we're going to go and we're going to try to be the best. I don't know what the best looks like, but we're going to try that. And then if that's not the best, then we're going to keep going and digging. And it sets the tone. Ours, there are a bunch of different values in there. They spell out. We had a really good relationship with the Navy SEALs at the time, and they came over and they had this saying called "just deal with it." Like, just deal with it. If something's going bad, just deal with it. And so it was like development, and it goes so DEAL with it. And there's so many ones that are in there that are amazing, and it's like it's about development, it's about work ethic, it's about trust. It's the number one thing is to trust. And if I can trust you, if you're trustworthy, then I know that I can count on you. And I know that I can count on you for a lot of things. I know I can count on you for feedback. I can count on you to have my back. I can count on you to hold me accountable. Can I count on you? All of those things I can count on you for, and that's trust. And without a direct heading and without trust, it's not really easy to you just kind of willy-nilly around. And there's also, it lets people that don't want to be held accountable to that standard, it lets them kind of wiggle. And we run a tight ship. And you should include when we put it on there, because it's all over the place, the sports medicine values. And like you can see, I think one of the biggest ones, and I know that we've talked about this a lot, is this team ability. And I think that's amazing. So like for me, team ability is like they described it. The Navy SEALs described it as, okay, you got this one young Lance Corporal, I don't know all the rankings, right? And he's this young buck, and he's in charge of everybody jumping out of the plane. Everybody's got to do the procedures and hook to this and jump out at the right time. And there's also a 4-star general that's about to jump out. But the 4-star general could, like he's literally the one in charge of the entire brigade and the entire but because he's a good teammate, he's going to follow the guy that's in control of that operation. He's going to be able to be a leader and a follower. And I think that's what makes teams really good, really versatile teams good. Like I'm an athletic trainer and a strength coach. I do soft tissue work. I do weightlifting. I do running mechanics. I do hitting mechanics. I do like whatever we need movement wise to get guys going in the right direction. That's what we do. So if I'm in a hitters meeting, the hitting guys are in charge, right? If I'm in the weight room, I'm in charge. And it's like, charge isn't the right word. Like I'm leading it. If Scotty's working on somebody, he's leading. I can follow. And we go in and out all the time of leadership and leadership and fellowship. And I think that that comes with trust, right? That comes with having no ego, because I want to get it right. I don't care if you're better at running mechanics than me. I want the guy to have better running mechanics. If you say something to him and it clicks, I'm not mad. I'm high-fiving because the dude's better. And I think that's the spirit with all of those things that we're trying to build. And I think we've done a really successful job of that over the years. And it's been a guiding post of what we want to do. And it's not debatable. Like if you want to work here, check this out. Okay. Live it, because this is what we do. If you don't want to be part of a competitive learning environment, this isn't the place for you. If you don't want to be able to be held accountable, it's not the place for you. And that's okay. But this isn't it for you,
There's so much I would love to peel back on that, but I want to be conscious of our time, and I want to make sure that I have two kind of last questions I'd love to ask. So one of which is a question I've asked all the other guests that have been on it, and it's wrapped around something that I feel like people don't always have an easy time talking about, which is things that they're proud of per se. And so I would love to ask you though, what's something that you're proud of, Nate, that maybe you don't always get an excuse to talk about?
There's two that immediately come to mind. I don't know. Parents don't need excuses to talk about their kids, but I'm proud of my kid. He's an awesome little kid, and I'm proud of the dad that I am, and the life that we've created. Like, it's pretty cool. We've had some special moments because of baseball, and I wouldn't be as good of a leader as I am without him. The more work related one that I get a little choked up about it sometimes, but sometimes at the winter meetings we'll take a picture, and we took a picture last year of all the guys that have worked on the D-back sports medicine team that are in the major leagues in other teams. And I would love to get, the strength coaches, they naturally, that I see them more because I'm in the strength coach room, not the training room. So I would love to have, I would like to brag on all the people that have come through our system and gone on and become better versions of themselves with us and then after us, and have, provided for their family and let me be a small part of their journey, and they're getting to do what they wanted to do. And that number is pretty impressive. I don't know the entire number with the strength coaches and the trainers, but I mean, it's got to be in the 30s, and it's just really cool. And I think that's something that is something that I'm proud of because of the hard work and the growth that each one of those people, took, and they took to coaching. They wanted to be mentored. They wanted to be better, and they did, and they went and they kicked ass, and they're doing it for other teams. I mean, I don't necessarily like the ones that leave and the teams that beat us. Like, that's not cool, but
It's one thing to be elite on an individual level, and it's another thing to multiply and create and develop other leaders and other elite performers. And I think that's certainly something that's not just an incredible legacy that you played a really significant part in, but like I know with Ken and Dip and all this, like it is one of the things that makes this team so special. Not only what we have internally still with the group that's still here, and also when we go and we travel around to all the different places around the league and you see former teammates and stuff, it does make it very special to just really see how far the roots, in essence, have spread. And you've been around far longer than I have to have a role in that. So I think it's been very cool to witness and see. But very last thing that I wanted to hit on, and you kind of hinted at it. I'm gonna do my best not to get emotional, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Uh, I think one thing while I have you here on camera, I think I would be remiss, Nate, if I didn't uh, express thanks to you. Um, Not only in terms of how I think you've helped me from a professional standpoint, but one thing that from the very first time that I met, one thing that was beyond noticeable is how much you love Jonathan, and how much you love your son, and how much you love being a dad. And like from the beginning, that was one of the things that you talked a lot about, and how much pride that comes in that. And uh, I want to thank you because there's a lot of things along the way in the last 7 years that I have subtly kept notes on, from things that you've shared and insights that you've learned going through highs and lows with him. And so on one hand, I want to thank you for that because I think one thing that makes our team very special, and it's not just you, but you played a very pivotal role in that for me, is not just becoming better at our craft, but becoming better in our families and our lives and things like that. And so, one of the things I would love to ask is you mentioned just kind of how maybe Jonathan has helped you grow as a leader. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you to maybe share what's maybe one or two things that you feel like has grown over time with him.
Yeah, I think it's and like thank you for thanking me. I thank you for listening to me over the years. You've been more of a sounding board for me, and it's being a parent. The first time through, there's no handbook in it, man. It's just like, ooh, I got a pretty good chance of screwing this one up. So I've been super fortunate to have a wonderful young man, and he's 15 now. He's in high school, and that's like sometimes I can't even realize like I have a high school kid. Like I still identify as a 12-year-old most of the time. Like I don't know, and it's crazy, but I feel like the unconditional love that you have for that little pterodactyl head when he comes out and you're holding him and he's this big and you're like, it's surreal because you're like, man, like, and you start talking about safe and protection and like, man, it's natural. It just comes out like, I'm going to protect this dude, like for sure. And I think over the years, the unconditional love, like there was this time I think I was sick. I had this bad stomach bug, and I fell asleep on the couch. And he got me up. He's like, "Hey, Dad, it's time for you to go to bed." And he takes me up and he puts me in my bed or whatever. And every night I do the same thing to him. I put the covers up. I kiss him on the forehead. And I say, "Your daddy loves you." And I'm sick. This kid comes up, pulls the covers up, kisses me on the forehead, and just pets my head and says, "Your son loves you." In that moment, I was like, "Well, I didn't screw it up." Like I showed him how to love. And it was like, it was this warm, like, just washing over me, like this feeling. And it was just like, man, it was also like a moment of like, oh, maybe I didn't screw it up. You know what I mean? And it's like, it was really cool. So unconditional love has helped me understand that love is the antidote for fear. And when you love somebody and you care about them and you help them and you serve them, you don't judge them, you don't critique them, you don't evaluate them. They don't feel that. You're looking at them to help them, and you want to be the best you can to serve them. And I think probably just learning unconditional love from him has changed my life. Like I mean, we still have our ups and downs, and I'm still a coach, and it's hard to be a coach and a dad. And the biggest gift of all time is to coach your own kid, and it's a challenge, and it's awesome. And I at the end of the day, I just value every second that I have with him. And it's been really cool. And you guys come in and you bust his chops, and like
the coolest thing for him is when he comes in and you guys pal around with him too, and you guys bust his chops and joke with him and get him on jokes. It's wonderful, and it's like it's 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 just like a multi-generational thing that's really cool. And I can't say that you were picking my pocket as a dad, and I've been doing that to Ken and other dads for a long time too. And you have to have people that you can look up to, that you trust, that are mentors, that you can love, and you just learn those things by watching, not by talking. And I think it's been cool. So I've had a ton of mentors too, and this game is hard, and the job is hard, and our families sacrifice a lot, and we get to do things that other people don't, and it's amazing. So it's been a great journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you on multiple levels. One, just for somehow being willing to do this, have this conversation. I think there's those that are listening. I would be remiss if I don't think that they'd find a number of different nuggets that you've shared in terms of clearly they're learning that, like, oh, Nate is not just strength coach, doesn't just do soft tissue work. Like, you transform lives by how you show up, who you are, not only here at work, but who you are off of it. And so I'm really grateful that you took some time to have the conversation and to share with those that are listening, and excited to continue to have the conversation going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.